All right, we are recording. All right. All right. Real quick, I'm going to blow through again the quick intro because I don't yet know how to edit 2 pieces of video recording. So hello to all. Welcome to the Body Composition Goal Setting Workshop. We are going to walk through how to establish your current body composition goals. If you don't, or excuse me, your current body composition as it is, if you don't already know it, how to set some body composition goals that are realistic. And then we are going to work through what is your goal body weight based on those body composition goals. And finally, what is a realistic timeline with which you can expect to reach those body composition goals? Please keep an open mind. You may be surprised at that goal weight, what that looks like for you. It may be different from what you have imagined it would be in the past. And you may discover that it may take longer than you think to reach your body composition goals because composition is different from weight. Weight is made up of composition. So we'll be getting into all of that. Everyone is muted for now. I will be walking through each section of this process at a time, and I will be asking for questions at the end of each section so that you can truly understand the formulas I'm going to be sharing with you and how to do the math for yourself. So please don't jump ahead, even if you may already know what I'm talking about in that section. When I call for questions, please either use the little hand raise icon in your Zoom or type your question into the chat and we can discuss it at the end of each section. For those just joining, I am going to drop the links for your cheat sheet and your worksheet again. Here it is. Your worksheet with all of the formulas in it. And this next one is going to be your cheat sheet, which has all the explanations of the formulas, why we're doing what we're doing, realistic expectations, and all that good stuff. All right, when you open these documents, please go to File, Save a Copy, and make your own copy, or you can download the file to your computer and open it up in your own Word document, Excel, Google Sheets, Google Docs, whatever you have on your computer. You can do this on your own time, or you can play with it if you're comfortable doing so while we're here on the workshop. And I will be showing you my screen, showing you my work, show your work for Whitney. We're going to show our work as we go so you can understand how these formulas work. Some of them are very, very simple. Some of them are a little more complex. But my goal for all of you is that you will understand all of them by the end of this. It feels like a lot. I was writing all of these formulas down and making sure I had them all in your worksheet late last night, and I think I came up with 10, and I may have added 2 more. There may be like 12 altogether. But you may not even need some of them. Some of them are as simple as multiply this times 4. So don't get overwhelmed. I think it'll be explanatory, it'll be self-explanatory as we go through. So, but feel free to ask any questions regarding these formulas as we go, because no questions are dumb questions. I want you to really understand this backwards and forwards. All right, before I move into the content, is anybody stressing out already and have any questions before we dive in? Type it in the chat or do your little hand raise if you do. I want to make sure everybody is chill, calm, ready to receive. All right, let's go. Okay, we are recording. Good. Yes, let's save the recording. Cool. Okay. Cool. All right, now as we're going, I'm going to really be showing you the formula cheat sheet or the formula worksheet more so than the cheat sheet. The cheat sheet is kind of it's a good read and a good thing to have, but you don't necessarily need to be looking at those words because I'm probably going to be saying all those words that are on the screen there. So if you are trying to juggle between the webinar or the workshop here on Zoom and your document, I'd say keep your eyes on the formulas document. That's the one that's going to be more important. Okay, so first and foremost, this first section, anybody who's been working with me in any capacity likely already knows this information. A lot of this stuff at the beginning is some basic level things that we do. Oh, yes, Deb, yes, there will be a recording and you will all get access to the recording. I'll be sharing that inside the Build platform, inside my private client chat. And for anybody who's not in those groups, I will be sending it by email. So Deb, message me on Facebook with your email address, and then I'll make sure I can send that out to you. I don't want to put those in the Facebook group. It's just so many links and documents, and I don't want anybody to get confused. So those will be going out by email. But for those of you in the Build or those of you who are private clients, I already have your email address and I already have platforms to share with you. So you do not have to send me your email addresses if you're working with me. All right. Okay, so let me get to my cheat sheet here. All right, first things first, let's find out where we are, because before we can set realistic goals or establish a timeline for where we're going, we need to know where we're starting from. So the most important thing is for anybody who hasn't been tracking to start tracking your own body weight first and foremost. And I will say what I say on every chance I get. The scale is not lying to you. The scale doesn't make up numbers. There's no need to be mad at the scale or to get emotional over the scale. We just need to understand what's behind those numbers. And we can't do that until we start looking at those numbers. So the first things first, start tracking that body weight. And all my ladies know I ask for that daily. I want daily, not weekly, because daily tells us trends. Weekly can potentially tell us trends, but if you happen to weigh on the wrong day of the week, it could throw the trend off and then you have no idea. So we want 7 days and we want to take averages, and that's how we really want to be looking at our weight. So even understanding the simple thing of how much do I weigh, what you weigh, this is really important. I didn't put this in the cheat sheet, but this is a really important mental note to understand. What you weigh at any given time is just a moment in time. So if you really want to know how much you weigh right now, it's not how much the scale tells you right this second. What you weigh right now today is what the average of your weight has been over the last 7 days. I don't want you to ever say, what I was this morning is how much I weigh. Or if I weigh in an hour, that's how much I weigh. No, how much you weigh is what you weigh on average. So look at the last 7 days, add it up and divide by 7, and that's how much you actually weigh in reality, okay? That really helps us get out of this what the number says right now kind of mentality. If you struggle with the averages, I have a document for that as well inside my KBB free resources folder, which is available to everyone working with me. That is not something that I have shared publicly. So if you are working with me and don't know what I'm talking about, ask me about it and I'll send you the link. If you're inside the EverFit app, which everyone will be in the new year, but if you're inside the EverFit app, that is inside your KBB vault, resource vault already, and that's where you can find that if you want to play around with tracking your averages. It is called the Progress Tracking Spreadsheet. And if you're still with me on Trainer Eyes and you don't have that already, just holler at me there and I'll send that to you. All right. All right, so getting into establishing your current body composition beyond the scale. So many of you, if you're working with me, once again, I pushed you to get a body composition scale at home, something that will tell you some kind of numbers. They may be great, they may be all over the place. I'm looking at Erin right now. I know her scale is like crazy all the time, up and down on the body composition. Same weight, but it just changes what. And this is due to water fluctuation. So if you struggle, I'm going to give you a few options, 3 options here in the cheat sheet for how you can take these numbers. And for anybody who is really uncertain if the scale at home is giving them what they need and they're not sure about that, you could take some of these other options and you can do a little check and balance of your scale at home. But you could do a DEXA to get this information. You could use a bioelectrical impedance scale like an InBody or any digital at home body composition scale, or go to your gym or your doctor's office and ask them to take it there. They have all different types of scales. You can do a bod pod. You can do they used to have the air displacement. Oh wait, that is the bod pod, the air displacement. They used to do the dunk tanks. There are calipers. Calipers are really cool. It's an old school way of doing it, but when you get a good practitioner to use a caliper, it's pretty dang accurate. So all of these are options. So basically pick your preferred way of tracking your body composition and get some kind of idea of your body fat percentage, your lean body mass in absolutes, so pounds or kgs, and your body fat mass in pounds or kgs. So as I go through this, I'm going to be using this terminology. Body fat percentage, that's how much of your total body weight is body fat. Lean body mass in absolutes. So LBM, or lean body mass, whenever I say that, I'm talking about the one in pounds or kgs. That's how much lean body mass you have. That means everything that's not body fat. A lot of the time, the term fat-free mass is used for lean body mass, basically interchangeable. Some measures, like a DEXA, might give you 2 different numbers for those things. I wouldn't sweat it. I'd focus more on body fat and lean body mass being your fat-free mass, because a lot of the time, otherwise we're getting into like even more detailed numbers, and that's not necessary. The basic understanding, and it's very simple, I'm going to get into that formula in a minute, to always understand, as long as you know your weight and your body fat percentage, you can always figure out your body fat mass and your lean body mass just by multiplying your weight by your body fat percentage. So you'll always understand what's on one side of that percentage and what's on the other. Lean is on one side, fat is on the other. Very, very simple. So number one, you can use the kind of scale that you want to determine those numbers for you. The second option, and this is a really great check and balance, and some of my ladies here have done this recently because we were questioning what their scale was telling us, and that is the Navy Body Fat Calculator. If you pull up that cheat sheet, I put the link to the Navy Body Fat Calculator right in there, or you can just Google Navy Body Fat Calculator and it'll pull right up. I usually use the one on bizcalcs.com. So you're going to need a few more data points to understand these numbers. You're going to need your neck measurement at the leanest, smallest part of your neck. You're going to need your waist measurement at the narrowest part of your waist. And you're going to need your hips measurement at the widest part of your hips. So one of the things I always recommend, in addition to tracking body weight and body composition, if you have a scale that tells you that, is tracking your measurements. These are the 3 minimum measurements you would want to track consistently, I'd say about weekly, so that you can always have some other way of estimating your body composition using the Navy Body Fat Calculator. So those are the 3 that you'll need. Most of you that do track your measurements like to track more than that, and that's totally fine. You can track your biceps, your shoulders, your calves and your quads, and any other body part you want to track. The more the better, because the more data points we have, the more we can look at, and the more wins we can celebrate along the way. So but those 3, if you plug those into the Navy calculator, along with, I think it asks your weight, your height, maybe your age, your gender, you put that stuff in, and it is going to give you all of those numbers I talked about. It's going to give you a body fat percentage, and it's also going to calculate those formulas for you to tell you, here's your body fat mass in pounds or kgs, and here's your lean body mass in pounds or kgs. So that'll do the work for you. Finally, let's say you don't have any of that available to you. All you know is your weight. And you can look at your body in the mirror. you can go to, and I have a link in here in your cheat sheet as well. There are many websites that offer photo examples of women's bodies at different body fat percentages. There are lots of different ones. I would take a look at as many different ones as you can because body types make a huge difference here. But there's one that I linked in your cheat sheet from AthleanX, one of my favorite people, sometimes favorite, sometimes I can't stand him, but on YouTube. He's a physical therapist and personal trainer. So this is one of the articles on his website, but there's lots of different websites that do this. So you could even type in, body fat percentage photos for women, and it would probably, or chart, and it would give you those photos from lots of different places. So you can take a look at that and just take a visual, this is where it looks like I am. And then when we get down one of the other sections to setting your body composition goals, which is very important, to have body composition goals rather than just a weight goal, and that's how we're going to set our weight goal. You can use those images as well to say, well, okay, this is where I think I am, and this is the body I'd like to be in terms of like body fat percentage. So this athletic body I see here seems doable for me, and it seems somewhere I'd be comfortable. Ooh, that one's too lean. I don't want to look like that, but I want to look like this, and that'll kind of help you set some body composition goals. But we'll get to that in a minute. Yes, Mary Grace. I could not remember his name for a minute. Jeff Cavalier from AthleanX. Yeah, he can be kind of polarizing. Okay, so any of those ways you can get your body fat percentage. And then there are a couple simple formulas for determining your body fat mass and your lean body mass. Body fat mass is as simple as multiplying your weight by your body fat percentage. So if you're, the example I have in your cheat sheet, if you're 150 pounds and you are 30% body fat, that would be 0.3. You would multiply 150 by 0.3, and that would give you 45 pounds of body fat mass. That's how much body fat you have. So your lean body mass, and it's interesting, once you know that with your body fat mass, you can just subtract that from your total body weight and get your lean body mass. Or there's another way you can do that. You can say, okay, if I'm 30% body fat, that means I'm 70% lean mass. So you can subtract your body fat percentage from 100 to get your lean body mass percentage, and you can multiply that by your body weight, or you can take your body weight and just subtract your body fat mass in pounds, and that's how you're going to get your lean body mass. Let me show you that on this spreadsheet here. I hope it works. Yes, it's going to work this time. Okay, share. Awesome. Okay. So here's your, oops. Apparently I had a typo here. Worksheet. Here's your worksheet. Okay, so first we talked about calculating your lean body mass. So this is once you already know your body fat percentage and your body weight. We have calculate your body fat mass. The formula is just your body weight times your body fat percentage equals your body fat mass. I put my numbers in here as an example. I weigh 125 pounds. My body fat percentage is 25%. So I'm going to multiply 125 by 0.25, and we get 31.25 pounds of body fat mass. Now to get my lean mass, I'm using the subtraction method, and I'm just taking my body weight. I'm subtracting that 31.25 for my body fat mass, and I get my lean mass, 93.75. And that is the whole first section. What is your current body composition? Does anybody have questions on this part of it? Yes, Mary Grace, go for it.
Just real quick, and I'm sorry if I missed it. I was just looking at my DEXA, for example, and the DEXA breaks out the bone, density. So like the lean tissue minus that. So I just bundle that in on using this formula.
What I would do is use what DEXA gives you for fat-free mass.
Okay.
And just go with that. Don't worry about trying to get down to the skeletal muscle mass level. For instance, like if anybody who uses InBody, I use InBody, it gives me a skeletal muscle mass number, and that's great. But I'm just trying to look at kind of an overview of if we're just talking about the two sides of that percentage coin, because it's the easiest thing to track more consistently.
Yeah,
If we're, yeah,
like,
we can,
if I use the formula, sorry about that, it's showing 92.5 pounds of lean body mass, because that's including like 4 pounds of bone density, right? But if I use the DEXA, then it's showing my lean tissue as minus that. So it's showing like 88.6. So you would use the 88.6? Is that what you're saying?
no,
You
I would use the fat-free mass. So DEXA is going to give you both the lean and the fat-free.
Yep.
I would use the fat-free. That's likely going to be in the 90s.
Okay. Yep. Got it. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's just so that we can compare apples to apples, because DEXA has a lot more detailed information, and InBody does as well. But most home scales and the Navy body fat calculator, for example, anywhere else you go is going to just give you fat-free and fat. So just so that we have apples to apples, you can look at those. But the cool thing is, if you are getting a DEXA or an InBody and you know the skeletal muscle mass and you know the lean mass versus the fat-free, for your muscle building journey, you can use those for setting goals, but they're not going to work with these formulas, because these formulas are all based on that fat-free mass number. So great question.
Cool. Makes sense. Thank you.
Good thing. Carrie, go for it.
Real quick, I just wanted to make sure. I tried to open the files, and so the one looks like it's a PDF to me.
None of them are PDFs. So
the one that should be Excel is opening up as a PDF for me. So I don't know. Has anyone opened it?
Yes, it's fine for me. I had to open it from the link in the chat and then save it out to my computer and then open it in Excel.
All right, I'll try. It won't let me. It's not letting me save, so I must be doing something wrong. So I'll figure it out. So,
okay,
okay.
we can work through that too if we need to in the build. Liz said that
Okay,
just ask
thanks.
her what type of file she wanted to save it as. So it may be a computer setting thing.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Because can I say it's because it already has the dot in Excel. That's why it already is defaulted to Excel. So you just click save. You don't have to make a choice. You don't have to choose anything.
It's not. It's all right. It's not letting me even do that. So I'll figure it out. So I should be able to figure it out. So all right. Thanks. That's it.
Good thing. Good luck.
Listen while I make 100 cookies. Sorry that I won't be eating. All right.
That's self-sacrifice right there. A lot of you are doing that this holiday season. All right, so any other questions relating to just figuring out your current starting place with your body composition? Cool, okay, let's move on to the fun part. Once we know where we are, we can start looking at where we're going. So next steps. We got to set some goals. Now, this section doesn't require any formulas. This section is all about understanding what's realistic and setting your goals accordingly. So this is the part where a lot of women set very unrealistic goals for themselves based on very arbitrary things out there in the world. A lot of the time I hear, I was this weight and I like the way I felt and looked when I was at this weight, so this is my goal weight. Or I want to be 15% body fat. because that sounds good to them for whatever reason, or maybe they saw some influencer or competitor mention that they were 12% body fat or something. And so it's all just completely arbitrary. So we're going to look at what I recommend, and you can just save these as hard reminders in your mind. And then you get to set your own goals accordingly. So typically, and you'll see these charts online for body fat percentage for women and men but these things, like all of our recommended daily allowances of vitamins and minerals, and like our blood test, blood labs ranges are based on a sick population and an overweight population. So a lot of the time when you see these numbers in these charts saying this is what's normal for body fat for women, it's going to say that the older you get, the fatter you're going to get. It's going to tell you when you're 20 years old, you can be between this range, and then when you turn 30, you're going to be higher range, and then 35 and 40 and 50 and 60. It just moves the range up. Some of them leave the bottom end of the range, but they just keep adding it up. And basically that's just saying you're going to be expected to put on body fat as you age, and that's just how it is. And that's absolutely not true. But I know y'all know that because you're here, right? Look, I'm wearing my older than Google, stronger than Wi-Fi shirt, and we can age better. So that stuff doesn't fly here. So what I will tell you is, generally speaking, any of my ladies who come to me above 30% body fat, and that includes if you're above 50% body fat, it doesn't matter how high your body fat percentage is right now, my first goal for everyone is to get under 30%. That is absolutely realistic and absolutely healthy for all people. Even if you were starting at 70% body fat, and I've never seen anybody at 70%, by the way. But if you're starting in the 50s even, yes, cutting your body fat in half is still very healthy for you. So don't ever think that being under 30% is just not realistic and you're never going to get there. Everybody can get there, and everybody should for your health. So first goal is always getting under 30%. I would set 29% as your first goal if you're not there yet. Once you get there, I would say optimal range, and it's a kind of a big range. Optimal range would be, let's say, 23% to 26%. Some women's bodies are going to be a lot happier at 26%. Some are going to be happier at 23%. For some of you, 23 is going to be too lean, and your body's not going to be happy. You're going to be hungry. You're going to be uncomfortable there. You might like the way it feels and looks on your body, but you're not going to be optimal. Now, that being said, the more muscle you build over time, the more comfortable you will be in a lower body fat percentage, and the more your body will thrive. So that may change over time. When you don't have as much muscle, you may feel better at a little bit higher body fat. Once you put on some more muscle, it's naturally going to recomp your body, and it may be a little bit more comfortable lower. For example, I used to sit higher in my body fat percentage, and now after 7 to 8 years of bodybuilding, I comfortably maintain at a lower body fat percentage that my body wouldn't have been happy before. It would have been angry at me. So I would say first kind of assess that 23 to 26% and say, okay, what feels good to me based on where I am and where I want to go. Let's say you're sitting at 26%. You don't feel very comfortable. You feel like you got some body fat to lose. Maybe you haven't built a whole lot of lean tissue yet, so you got more body fat just kind of hanging on your body and you want to let go. Then your goal might be 23%. You know, for some of you, let's say you're at about 25% already, and you're like, you know what? I want to see how far I can push this. I want to do a mock competition prep, or I actually want to do a competition prep. For context, I sit around, like right now I'm sitting between 23 to 25% in my off season. On DEXA, I just got my DEXA done last week. That looks like 24% on my in-body, looks like 27% on my DEXA. Almost 28. So typically my in-body is lower than my DEXA, just for context. When I do a prep, at the end of my prep, when I'm as lean as I can get and not healthy, because being stage lean is not healthy, we're talking 14-15%, but that hangs around for like a week. That's like peak week and a few days after the show, and then that's it. And then I'm already coming back up. So I would say I sat for most of my prep, maybe around like 20%ish, 18%. And then like at the very end, I drop down and then I come right back up again because we want to get healthy. So I never sit for any length of time lower than 18%. So I would say if you're looking to get lean and you really want to see how lean you can get, I don't encourage going lower than 18. I'd say anywhere between 18 and 20 is like athletically lean and borderline too lean. I feel amazing at 21, 22%. So being a little under that 23 is totally fine. It just very much depends on you. And if, let's say, as we go through these formulas, and this is why I wanted you to have these worksheets to take with you, because you can play with different numbers. You know, you could set some goals and then you can change them in 3 months, because really our goals should be changing. They shouldn't just always be the same. So maybe a couple times a year you can revisit it. Or if you get down to your goal, you reach your goal and you're like, you know what, I want to make a new goal. Cool. You may do this whole process and find out that the timeline is incredibly long to get to where you want to go if you're looking at your ultimate goals. So you decide, okay, I'm going to go back through this process and I'm going to go with a short-term goal. For example, for my ladies up over 40% body fat, to get down to 25%, it's going to take a very long time. That's not like in 6 months I'm going to get there. So if you're starting at 45%, maybe your first goal is 35%. And you set all your numbers according to that, and you have your timeline according to that. Once you get there, you can reassess and go to your ultimate goal. So you can use these formulas for short-term goals or long-term goals, or both. All right. Before we get into lean mass goals, Mary Grace, do you have a question?
Sorry, y'all. Would you suggest, if we're setting our goals and planning to build or planning to move into more of a building phase, to go to sort of maybe 1 or 2% sort of less than what you're hoping to build at, with the anticipation that you're going to be adding some body fat along with muscle during a build process, inevitably, even, you know what I mean? Like if I was saying, let's say I wanted to shoot for 23, would you try and hit like a 22 or a 21 before you start to build, so that you have like that small cushion, so that that's where you live? Or what would your suggestion be there?
I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. So right now, all I want you to do is say, what's the goal, right? What's the body fat percentage goal? And then in a moment, we're going to talk about lean mass goal. We're going to go through all the formulas, and we're going to establish the timeline for each. So I've got a formula for each of those timelines. What is it going to take to get to that body fat goal? What is it going to take to get the lean mass goal? And then we combine them, and that's when it's going to be the full timeline. So great question. And I even have a little piece in here about, we're not going to talk about it on this workshop, but I touched on it in the worksheet, and on the cheat sheet part with the description about a building and a cutting phase versus a recomp phase. Because essentially you're either going to commit to one way of doing it or the other. You could do it either way. It will take the same amount of time roughly, but it could take longer if you're doing a build and a cut, because when you build, you're going to put some body fat on with that build. And when you cut, you're going to take off some lean mass with that cut. So it may actually extend the timeline. So typically my recommendation is focus on the recomp, but you could do either one. So, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Good question. All right. Oh, Carrie's coming back in. Let me let her back in. Cool. Okay. So any other questions on setting your body fat percentage goal? Erin.
Hi, I'm like really not sure, because I'm already down pretty low, and I mean I feel it just, and based on the past with my percentages and everything, I have a pretty good idea of where I'm at in those pictures and everything. But I really I want to really like build more muscle, like so that it's noticeable, but I don't know that I feel comfortable with losing a lot more fat because I'm pretty lean in certain places. Like my butt and my thighs, I could definitely do more there, but the rest is like, okay. So I'm really confused about like where to go from this point.
Great question. So yeah, it's totally fine for your current body fat percentage to be your goal body fat percentage. Keep the body fat percentage the same and just focus on building. Or you could even go up a little bit. You could say, okay, if I'm going into a building phase, I'm going to put on some muscle. It's likely I may put on some body fat with that if I'm comfortable with that because I already feel pretty lean. Maybe I say, you know, let me add a point or two to my body fat percentage. For example, when I'm lean getting out of a show and I'm at 20% and I know I'm going into a building phase, it's totally okay if my goal body fat percentage is 22% or 23% or even 25. So it can go either direction. Your goal can be higher than it currently is. It can be lower than it currently is.
Okay. If I were to just like keep on the path that I'm on now, where I'm still trending downwards, like very, very, very slowly, it might be like a pound or two a month, I think at this point. But is that just going to continue to drop down? Does that make sense? Like, because I'm not at the leanest that I've ever been, but you know, if I keep eating with, I don't want to say calories, but with these current macros, I'm going to keep dropping that body fat, I'm guessing.
It's likely you can. The leaner you get, the slower it's going to be, and it may eventually just stop.
Okay.
So that's kind of it's a tough one to answer. It may or it may not. But if you're going into a dedicated building phase, you're going to need to be in a caloric surplus, and I think
Yeah.
we just haven't hit that yet.
Okay.
You haven't found your thresholds. Once you find your thresholds, you will stop losing body fat.
So I should probably keep building on that. I'm guessing is what you're saying, a little bit at a time. Okay.
Yep.
That's another topic.
Yes, indeed. But good question. Good question.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Oops. I think I just asked you to unmute again. I didn't mean to do that. All right. Anybody else have questions about setting your body fat goal? All right. If not, let's move on to lean body mass. Really my favorite part. All right. So once you've established your goal body fat percentage, it's time to set your lean body mass goal. Now this one's pretty simple. You take your current lean body mass in pounds or kgs, and you say, okay, here's where I'm at now. Every single person in here and every single woman in the world should have a goal to build muscle. So at very minimum, let's say you are in or entering a dedicated fat loss phase. You are just like, fat loss is my goal. Yes, I want to keep my muscle. Yes, I like recomp, but I want to go hard on fat loss. When I'm in a bikini prep, fat loss is my goal. This is not the time where I'm trying to build muscle. But at all costs, I am trying to maintain my muscle. So at the very lowest, your lean body mass goal should be exactly what your current lean body mass is. Ideally, you would just add a few pounds to that or kgs. And in my cheat sheet, I told you that 5 to 10 pounds is a lot of muscle. When we get down to the timeline section, you're going to see how low the rate of muscle gain is. And it's slower and slower and slower the more trained you are as an athlete. The longer you've been consistently training, you can expect a slower rate. So for my newbies, you can expect to gain maybe 5 or even 10 pounds in a year. For intermediate, you'd be lucky to get 5, and for advanced, you'd be lucky to get 2 to 3 in a year. So but what I would say is I like to set long-term goals, right? So for me, my ultimate goal is to get up to 100 pounds of lean mass. And in here, we just calculated my current lean mass at like 93 point something. I'm just going to round it up to 95. Let's say my lean mass is 95, my fat-free mass, and I want to get up to 100. So I'm setting a goal of adding 5 pounds to my lean mass. So you just add those pounds, however many pounds you want to add. Maybe it's 2, maybe it's 3, maybe it's 5, maybe it's 10. You pick that for you and you add it to your current lean mass, and that is your lean mass goal in pounds or kilos. That one I didn't even give you a formula because it's just adding however many pounds or kgs. Anybody have questions about that, Rhonda? Oop, you gotta unmute yourself.
I wanted to know if you're going to interface the macros it would take for the timeline that you want. Is there a way to do that?
Not on this workshop. We're not talking macros today. We're just saying goals and timelines.
Okay.
But for you, you know, me and you can talk macros personally, privately, anytime.
Okay.
Oops. Ignore that, whatever I did, that thing just sent you. Okay, Blaze, go ahead.
Okay, according to my scale and plugging my numbers in the formula, I am already, muscle mass is 100 pounds and fat-free body weight is at 106. So in my case, what you're saying is I'm already there as far as lean, the fat-free body weight, because I believe your height 5'3".
Oh, I'm barely 5. I'm not even 5 feet.
Okay.
We're close,
Then
but that really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I should be aiming for more fat loss than building muscle per se. I could always use some more muscle because of my situation of lifting.
Okay, so great question. And I suppose others would be thinking along the same lines of, well, I have all this body fat, so I should really just focus on body fat, right? And just keep my lean muscle the same, right? No. I would say, actually, for many of you who have a lot of body fat to lose, you absolutely should have a goal of building muscle and losing body fat. So I would take, if you're at 106 for your lean mass, your fat-free mass right now, I'd go up to 110, make it a goal to put on 4 pounds of muscle. It's a nice round number. I like to work in round numbers. I always kind of say, okay, what am I close to? Bump it up to that and say, okay, let's see how long it's going to take me. Because then once we get down to that formula, we can see how long would it take you realistically to put on those 4 pounds of muscle.
Okay.
I love it. Yeah, I'm always going to tell you, I'll build more muscle. All right, Karen, go for it. She's trying to unmute.
There we go. I was gonna say wouldn't unmute. My question is very similar to Blaze's. Is there a goal for muscle mass based on height? Because my muscle mass right now is about the same as hers. You know, and I'm 5'7". So I know I need to lose fat, but it's like is your muscle based on height as well? You know,
Nothing's based on height. Nothing
Okay.
is based on height at all.
Okay.
You want to look at always absolutes. Where are we and where do we want to go, right? So I would say wherever anybody is, the goal is always build muscle. It could be lose body fat.
So I definitely need to do that, but
if you're already lean, it's not even going to be lose body, right? We just talked to Erin, who's looking at really gaining muscle. She doesn't feel comfortable losing any more body fat where she is right here.
Right.
But the goal for everyone is build muscle. I would say like we're going to get down to those rates in a minute. Like 8 years in as a bodybuilder, I'm already lean. It's going to be damn hard for me to put on any muscle. I haven't built any in the last year because I don't have any testosterone. That's a whole nother discussion. But But still my goal is to build muscle. So really, you know, especially the older we get, the more we want to be doing everything we can to build muscle. It gets harder as we get older. So
That was also a question of mine where you were saying before that you're either going to be on the building the muscle phase or the losing the fat phase or whatever. And that was one of my questions that I had on my list is that, well, but as we age, we definitely want more muscle.
Yes, yes, exactly that. That's
Gotcha.
why I feel like at minimum, your goal would be to maintain, but ideally, everyone's goal is to at least put a few pounds of muscle on.
Okay. Thank you.
It's kind of like reaching for the, you know, shooting for the moon, you'll land among the stars kind of thing. Let's aim to put on 5 pounds, and if we put on 1 or none, at least that's a good thing, right? It's still putting us in a good spot. Love it. Okay, Liz, tell me more about what you're confused about. And we can help. Can I just go through the section numbers? Which section in particular? Body fat percentage goal, or lean muscle, or lean mass goal? Or are you talking about the very beginning where we were talking about setting your body composition, your current body composition? We're talking about the formulas. The only formulas we've looked at so far is the very beginning, the first section, calculating your current lean body mass. We haven't even gotten down to the second one yet. So everything I just talked about in regards to selecting your goal body fat percentage and your goal lean body mass, we did not use formulas for those. Those are just personal preference. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Boom. Okay, so the only part we've gone through so far is this very top part. Understanding, calculating your lean body mass. This is your current lean body mass. We talked about getting, and this is, if you already use a scale and you have these numbers, you don't even need this section. But if you wanted to calculate your lean mass and your body fat mass in pounds or kgs based on your body fat percentage, this is the formula you would use. Multiply your body weight by your body fat percentage to get your current body fat mass. Subtract your current body fat mass from your total body weight to get your lean body mass. These are the numbers we're talking about if, let's say, you're trying to decide what body fat percentage you want to be. You'd say, okay, for instance, in my example, I'm currently at 25% body fat. I'm setting a goal of 20%. That's extreme for most of you. But for me, if I want to get to the next level, I kind of want to look at, I want to go into a mini cut. I'm going to set my goal at 20%. That would be 5% lower than where I am now. Some of you, your goal is going to be to maintain your current percentage. Some of you, a lot of you are going to be to drop. Let's say you're at 30%, you want to get to 25%, that you might set your goal that way. But we don't need a formula to figure that out. That's you just picking what you want your body fat percentage to be. Your lean body mass, you're going to take where you are now. For example, I'm here. And I'm saying, well, I'm at 93.75. Let's just round it up and say I want to get to 100 pounds of lean body mass. So my muscle gain goal, my lean body mass goal is going to be 100 pounds. Eventually, I'm going to put on that 6.25. And later on, we're going to figure out, using the formula, how long it's going to take me to get there. Those are the only formulas we've used right now. And so if you have a scale that tells you these numbers, you didn't even need these. Right, my scale tells me this, so I already have these numbers elsewhere, but this is just to figure it out from your body fat percentage. Now, as long as we are all clear on what we want our goals to be, so right now, all I want you to do is write down your current weight, your current body fat percentage, your current body fat mass, and your current lean body mass. Write those down somewhere so you have those handy, because you're going to need those numbers for our next section. I'm going to let me take this off, stop the share. Okay. So the next thing you're going to do before we get into our formulas is pick a goal body fat percentage and write that down. And pick a goal lean body mass number in pounds or kgs and write that down. So you've got all your current data, you've got your goals, your body composition goals. The next piece is the piece you are all really here for. What the heck body weight would I be if I hit my lean body mass goal and my body fat percentage goal? And it's a very simple formula. Time to share my screen again. Wait, let me make sure I'm not missing anything that I had in the cheat sheet. We got our goals written down. Yes, time to calculate your goal body weight, your realistic goal body weight based on your body composition stats. So here's the formula. Share my screen. Boom. All right, here's the cheat sheet, and then we'll go to the formulas sheet. The formula is you take your goal lean body mass, that number you just wrote down. For me, it was 100 pounds. You're going to divide by your goal lean body mass percentage. Wait, we didn't talk about that one. What's that? Here's your formula. So this is where I said, okay, your goal lean body mass is either going to be current if you just want to maintain, or add some pounds if you want to get me. All right, and we set our goal body fat percentage, right? So to find our lean body mass percentage, we just subtract our goal body fat percentage from 100. So if my goal body fat percentage is 20%, I subtract that from 100, and my goal lean body mass is 80%. If you want to be 25% body fat, you're going to be 75% lean body mass. So here's the simple formula for figuring out your goal body weight. We take your goal lean body mass. How many pounds do you want in fat-free mass? I want 100 pounds of fat-free mass. I'm going to divide that by my goal lean body mass, so 0.8 for me, because that's 80% for me. And look at that. My goal body weight is 125 pounds, which happens to be my current body weight. So if nothing else, what I really want you to take away from this is if I was only going off of weight, and I said, well, if I want to change my body, what? That means I don't lose any weight? I'm not going to lose any weight to get to my body goals. That's right. Because to gain muscle and lose body fat, I am trading off pounds of body fat for pounds of muscle mass. So when I reach my ultimate goal body composition, I'm going to weigh the same thing I do now. Right? I wrote that down here in your cheat sheet. So here's how we use this data. With this information, I can decide how I'm going to go about doing this. And this is what Mary Grace was alluding to earlier. I could go on a bulk to put on as much muscle as possible. I would likely gain a little bit of body fat along the way. And then I can go on a cut to lose as much body fat as possible while maintaining my muscle. And it's likely I might lose a little bit of muscle along the way. And then I'm going to land back at the same body weight in the long run with a different body composition. Now, let me tell you, that can be quite taxing on the body, doing the bulking and cutting process. So the other option is to commit to a recomp. I can stay at the same body weight, give or take, fluctuating day to day. I'm going to sit at my maintenance calories. I'm going to train consistently with progressive overload. I'm going to prioritize my recovery. I'm going to optimize my nutrition. I'm going to drive muscle growth while losing body fat. It's going to take a while, but it will be less stressful to me, and I won't have to deal with these big swings on the scale going up and back down, or if you're doing the other way around, down and back up. You can do them at the same time. So before we move on to the next section, establishing timelines, let's talk about goal body weight. What questions do you all have about using this formula to determine your goal body weight? Has anybody plugged their numbers in yet? Erin, go ahead.
It's telling me I need to gain about 3 pounds. Is that right?
I'm not
I
sorry.
looked at it first and it like blew my mind. And I'm like, okay, I need to gain weight. I can eat more. Yay.
Yep, I would 100% agree with that.
Okay.
Beautiful. Isn't it liberating?
It's
You
weird.
can look at it like that and say,
So weird.
oh, yeah, my goal is not to see the scale go down anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It is mind F when you've been focused on weight loss for so long. Congratulations, love. Mary, go ahead.
I forgot what you said, but I'm sure I'll figure it out. I had no idea when I started the, and I just did all my numbers. I started this at 57%. I am now at 36%. And I want to get to 29%, which suggests that I would weigh 154 pounds. I'm at 180. So, and along the lines of what Aaron says, I want to make that lean mass higher. So that's why you gave me a goal weight of like 157, because I want to add muscle mass to that as well. Is that the right interpretation?
Yeah, so what you would do is you would take your lean body mass now, and you would add how many pounds of muscle
Yep.
you want to gain. And you take that number.
Yep.
So what's your lean body mass goal in pounds?
I have no idea. I really am just going with.
Oh no, you're going in and out. I think I lost you. Are you still here? I can't find you anymore. I lost Mary. Hopefully she'll come back. I don't know how that happened. Oh, there she is. I see you.
Sorry, I'm gonna shut my video off. My internet's terrible.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, it says my mean mass is 115,
Okay.
and then doing the math to get to 29%, which would be dividing it by 71%, 62. My question is, I really have no idea what I want my lean mass to be. I don't know how much muscle to build. I want to build what I can build, so I don't have a clue.
Okay,
Really.
so I would say,
I mean, I know there's that percentage, but
yeah, I mean, a good starting place would be at least 5 pounds you want to put on. So I would go for 120 as your lean body mass goal for now. You can always
okay.
assess that and keep building from there. Maybe 125 might be your ultimate goal. But I would say, okay, let's go for 5 pounds of muscle gain. And if we take that 120, we divide that by your 71% lean mass. Now we're looking at 169 as a goal weight.
Cool. I can do that. That's a good one. We should be hopefully getting close to that soon. All right, thank you. I'm getting it. I like the math because that makes it easier. And I do my body fat percent with the Navy calculator because the scales suck. Just go up and down as they willy-nilly want. So thank you very much.
You're so welcome. All right, Maria is up next. This is fun.
Hey, thanks for taking my question. So I'm being thrown off a little bit by the percentage and then the decimal points. So in my situation, current body weight 137 and my lean body mass is calculated at 102.75. So I chose 105 to round it up.
Like it?
Well, so when I subtract my goal body fat percentage, which is 25%, which is basically keeping it the same as what I've been, it says that my goal lean body mass percent is 80%.
It should be 75%. If 25 is your body fat percent.
So yeah, I don't know why is it so 105 is where my goal.
That's your goal lean body mass in pounds. So
right?
for the goal lean body mass in percentage, it's just 100% minus the 25% body fat.
So when I'm plugging it in though, I'm getting 105 minus 25 equals 80.
No, you want to take 100 minus 25 because you're taking 100% minus 25% to get your goal body mass percent.
Okay. See, I'm being thrown off because you wanted to go up to 100 pounds. And so I'm like, okay,
that's right. The numbers, yeah, it's two different formulas. So one formula, one simple formula to figure out your lean body mass percentage goal, which is the direct inverse of your body fat percentage goal.
Okay.
100% minus your body fat percentage goal. So that means the lean body mass percentage goal is 25% in your case. So now you would take your 100, the second formula, you would take your 105 pounds.
0.75, and it says I need to be at 140. So
there you go. There you go.
That's incredible. Thank you.
You're so welcome. This is why I wanted to do this as a workshop, because it's tricky to understand if you're just hearing it and not able to walk through it as we go. Awesome. Thank you, Maria. Juliana. It doesn't say you're on mute, but I don't hear you. Do you have headphones on or something? Or Bluetooth? Still don't hear you. Some weird thing going on over there. Are you dropping it in the chat? Okay, she's leaving and coming back. We'll be ready for you when you get back. I'll let you right back in. All right, Blaze, go ahead in the meantime.
Okay. So on the formula, it should be 100% in my case, even though you said lean body mass, I should shoot for 110.
So there's two formulas. And let me actually share my screen again, because I think a lot of people can be confused about this part. So, okay, wait, did I let Juliana back in? Yes, okay. I'm going to do this quick share again, so everybody gets this part. This is, so there's two.
Is that better?
Yes, I can hear you. Just hang on real quick. I'm going to do this little share.
For sure.
All right, so we are, first thing we need to figure out is what your goal lean body mass percentage is. To do that, we take 100%, and maybe I'll just put 100% under here. And this, by the way, is in white. It's not shaded because you can't change that. That number stays the same. That's just a part of the formula on the page. This is the box you would change, and this is the answer. So this box is where you put your body fat percentage. If you change that to 25, it's going to give us a 75% percentage of lean body mass goal. So this is the first thing. We want to figure out what is your lean body mass percentage goal. Then we come down here and we take your lean body mass goal. Let's say my goal was actually, I want to put on a whole bunch of muscle and I want to get to 110 pounds. of lean body mass. And my body fat percentage would be 80%. Excuse me, my lean body mass percentage goal would be 80%. That means my weight is going to be 135 or 137.5. So two formulas. This one to figure out your percentage goal. And then you just plug in your personal goal, your goal in pounds divided by your goal in percentage, and that's what gives you your goal weight. And you can see how it changes. Like, let's say right now I'm at 93 point something. If it was only 95 pounds I wanted to get to in lean mass, now my goal body weight is lower because I'm not putting on as much weight in muscle. So as I increase the lean body mass goal in pounds, my total weight goal increases. Does that make sense?
Okay, so you're going from a goal lean body mass percentage that it gave you.
That's what we
Instead of 80, you're going for 100.
You're not changing the percentage. So the reason why this might be confusing is because my personal goal is 100 pounds. So let's change my personal goal to 95 pounds. Just so that we don't have the exact same numbers in here. So this number does not change. That's always going to be 100%. That's 100% for everyone, no matter what.
Right.
Right? So we take 100% minus our body fat percentage to get our lean body mass percentage. So if my goal body fat percentage is 20%, then I want to have 80% of my body be lean mass.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
So you would take 100% minus, what is your goal body fat percentage?
Eventually, I would like to hit 25.
Okay. So then your goal lean body mass percentage is going to be 75.
Right.
Now, what did we say? 115? What was your goal lean body mass in pounds?
110.
110. So if we take 110 and then we divide it by 75%, which we got from here. Now your goal body weight is 146.66666.
Okay. That makes sense. All right.
Yay,
Okay.
that's thank you for that. I think it's helpful to see us plug people's numbers in.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Juliana, go for it. What was your question?
Okay, now that you can hear me, my brain is not braining so good right now. So if we have to talk later, we can. Number wise, I know with my bod pod, I'm at 118 for my lean body mass in pounds. So
Okay.
I am basically your age. I am basically your size. Clearly, we're not the same fitness level, right? But if I'm at 118, can I do the converse since I don't have the other ones where you're saying 80%? So that would be, I want 20% to be my fat. And that puts me at like 143-ish. Does that make sense?
Let's plug your numbers in. So what is your goal?
Because I don't know what my lean body mass percentage is. I know my current weight and I know my lean body mass just because of the.
Right. So we get your lean body mass percentage by determining what's your body fat goal.
Okay.
So what's your body fat percentage goal?
I am at 40 something now. So I'm guessing like 35 is probably the better, like for the right nowness. Because we can all say 20 or 25 or 16, but like I live in a very realistic, slow as a pace. We'll get there when we get there mentality. But I'm like, I'm listening to you. You're like, I want 110. I'm like, I'm at 118 and we're basically the same size and weight and age and not weight. No, not weight. I take that back. But I'm like, I'm already 8 lean mass pounds over you and I have so much more to do. So I'm like, how do I figure out what's right?
We've talked about this before, girl. You are a brick house under there. Like, it's going to be so exciting to see where you end up because you got a lot of lean mass. So yeah, I like this. I like the short-term goals because you don't want to get down to the timeline section and it tell you have 5 years until your goal. We want to, so I love that. So let's go 35% body fat.
I know I'm somewhere in the 40s. I can't remember because my brain is not braining.
That's cool. So if 35 is your goal lean body mass percentage is the inverse of that. So 65% lean body mass.
Okay.
We're going to come down here and your current goal, your current lean body mass is how much you said?
118.
118. So let's just say we're just going to bump it up to 120, just a couple of pounds of lean body mass that you want to gain.
Okay.
Because we're going to primarily with you, we already know we're in a deficit. We're
doing both. We're doing both.
So goal is 120 pounds of lean body mass. Your goal percentage is 65. So your goal body weight would be 185, basically.
Okay. So I'm only 10 pounds from there. Gosh darn it. Let's go.
You know what I mean? This is why I love doing this, because y'all, you don't have as far to go as you think when we're focused on body composition.
Can you pop 30 in there real quick just because you have it up?
Yes,
The 30%. Just
So-
for shits and giggles. Pardon my language. Sorry, that was inappropriate.
Juliana, I'm 11 pounds away from mine too, so that's pretty awesome, isn't it?
Yes.
There we go. So this is 70% lean body mass. That means your goal body weight is 171.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're so welcome. This is how you guys can play around with these formulas on your own. Plug in different numbers and see what it gives you.
I'm
Awesome.
trying to watch you, but it's on my phone, and apparently no one can find my laptop cord right now and whatever. So thank you.
You're so welcome. Yeah, you can play later with the formulas and we can chat. All right. Rhonda is up next. Go for it.
Can you hear me? Am I unmuted?
I can hear you.
Okay. Should I use that because the scale is so different as we know from what the U.S. Navy one said? Which one should I be using for my body fat mass? Should I still go by what this stupid scale is saying? Or should I go
Rhonda is my example. Like she is my example of why we use the Navy body fat. Her scale was just not really diving. Y'all, if you could see her photos, I was like, this ain't right, because she's lost and gained muscle, lost body fat, and her scale just wasn't reflecting it. So for you, absolutely, I would probably go with the body fat, the Navy body fat calculator numbers.
Okay. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Sure thing. We know your scale is busted.
I don't know. I don't know why it's like that. I don't know.
It's just not giving her credit for the body composition. And this is a lot of the time what happens with these scales. Erin's scale, same thing. The weight trends are fine, but it's just not sensitive enough to notice the changes in body composition accurately. And this is why I encourage all of you to use that Navy calculator as kind of a nice checks and balance, because the measurements don't lie. All right, awesome. Sue, go ahead. So glad you're able to get on.
Yeah, hello. Okay, my brain's exploding. Maths was never my strong subject. Don't ask me how I got to work in a bank, but anyway. I think I've got there. I think I've caught up to where the goal body weight is. So I've got in 100. I've put my goal body weight at 28%.
Okay.
And my goal lean body mass would be 72. Yeah.
Let me plug that. Let me do yours here on the screen. I think it'll be helpful that way. Okay, so your goal body fat percentage is 28. So that means your goal lean body mass percentage is 72.
I'm there.
Okay.
Then I just get a little bit confused on this next bit. So I don't understand what I've got to put in for that lean body mass.
Okay, do you know what your current lean body mass is in? Yours might be in kgs. Is it kgs? Or
so
pounds?
I think it's 87.1.
Okay.
I think that's what I've worked out.
Okay, so let's go back and do that part. I think this will be helpful for folks too. All right, so your current body weight
is 130.
Okay, and then your current body fat.
That's questionable because remember I said I've got two. My scales say 33 and the Me360 is saying 29. So do you want to call it in the middle or?
Yeah, let's go and let's just go, what, 31?
Yeah.
Let's go 31. So we'll say you have 40 pounds of fat mass on you. We're going to subtract that 40.3 from your total body weight. So your current lean body mass is 89.7.
Okay.
So I would say a good goal would be to get up to 95. Well, let's work on putting on 5 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
So now we're going to come down here and put that into your goal lean body mass. 95.
95.
I should do is make that equal that. Let's do that. Let's make this a formula for you guys. It's not going to change it if you've already saved it, so never mind. We'll just plug it in down here. This is going to be, what did I say? 95 would be your goal lean body mass.
Yeah.
And your goal lean body percentage is 72 around here. So your goal body weight would look like 132.
So that makes me putting on 2 pounds. Okay. Interesting.
Now here's the interesting part, because let's say you wanted to get leaner than that. If you wanted your goal body fat percentage to be 25, which I don't think is unrealistic for you, for where you're at. If you're sitting around 31%, 25% is a great goal. So that puts your lean body mass goal at 75%.
Okay.
That puts your goal weight at 126 or 127.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that makes more sense to me.
Yeah, and here's another thing for all of you. If you're thinking about what you want to focus on first, right? So when I was talking about going into a build and a cut or just doing everything as a recomp, what we're doing right now is looking at everything as a recomp. But let's say you wanted to focus on a build phase first. You could put your goal body fat percentage at that 28 you had before, because it's not a big change. And then it would put you at a higher. That means you're putting on 2 pounds because your goal is to put on 5 pounds of muscle. And by doing that and staying around maintenance calories, you're likely going to lose a little bit of body fat. And so it would have put us at that old, what we got before, which was 131 pounds or 132. But if, let's say, your goal was to be in a deficit and to drop some more body fat, then this would be more realistic. So you can always massage these numbers based on, okay, do I want to do an intense body fat cut? In which case, I would make your goal lean body mass your current lean body mass. Because when you're in a strategic loss phase, which we're going to get to in a minute, I'm going to talk about that again. When you're really strategically focusing on, I'm going to stop this share. Whenever you're bulking or cutting, you're focused on one thing. And you'll be able to optimize for that one thing, but you're not going to be able to optimize for both. If you're in a recomp, you can get pretty darn good at both, but neither one is going to be like ideal optimized. But you can attack both goals at the same time. So those are kinds of things just to think about as you're looking at these numbers.
Okay, thank you.
You're so welcome. Thanks for being a great example. Yeah, Shannon mentioned that the Navy body fat calculator for her goes way high, and her body, her in-body shows her lower, and it only varies by about 2 to 3% daily. I would go, in that case, I would go with the in-body and just pick that average between the 2 to 3% difference. Yes, Deb, you and I can chat privately and we can go through this together, and I'll share with you where I think you're at and your goals specifically. And I can do that with any of you who are my private clients. So if any of my private clients are confused, we can use our call times for that, or we can put a call in the calendar if we don't have one and make sure we go through those. That's the beauty of having a coach. I'll do the math for you. All right, Juliana, do you have another question?
I do. So if I'm at 194 and the one number you just gave me was 184 is my goal with the body fat percentage, it was like, what did we say? 30, 35, whichever one it was. What happens, or how likely is it that, okay, in a month or two, I'm at 184, which is the goal weight, but I'm not at the 120 lean mass? Like there's still more fat. Is that possible? Do you know what I'm trying? Like, how
Yes,
does that
actually, I'm
work?
glad you
Because
brought that up.
clearly I'm not supposed to be 184 pounds. I'm built like a brick house, but I am not the Rock. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, really, really good point here. First off, none of this is like Bible. It's not like, okay, these are the numbers, and once you get there, like everything's perfect. Like, so a couple different things to consider. You may hit these numbers that you set, and your scale may not reflect the body composition changes. Remember what I was just saying about Rhonda and her scales not reflecting what we can see with our eyes. So first and foremost, the only thing that matters at the end of the day is how you feel when you look in the mirror, put on clothes, do your workouts, move through life. You determine your goals based on how you want to feel in your body, what your body looks like to you, and where you want to go. When I get on stage, nobody's asking what my body fat percentage is. Nobody's asking my weight. I don't get weighted when I go to shows. I don't get any of that done on stage. All they care about is what I look like next to the other competitors, right? So these numbers are ultimately all arbitrary. They're just kind of something we want to, when we want to set goals and have like numbers we can look at and metrics we want to look at. But secondly, our scales may not always show it. So we always want to have like multiple data points so we can look at the Navy body fat, we can look at the measurements. And also, and this also speaks to Maria's question in the chat. So is jiggly skin considered lean? Here's the thing, when you were starting with a really high body fat percentage and a really high weight and you lose a lot, it may not look like super tight and lean and fit when you get to 25% body fat because you had a lot more going on. So now you might have some loose skin. And for my ladies who do have the loose skin, that's going to impact your numbers. That's going to impact your measurements. So this is why for some women, when they lose a lot of weight, the Navy body fat calculator is not ideal for them because they have excess skin that's skewing the measurements. That's then going to skew the numbers that calculator is giving you. So this is why we always want to have as many different measures as we can. And ultimately, let's say you get to that first goal, 35%, and you're like, nope, this ain't it for me. You know, first off, it's not going to be it for you or anyone at 35%. I think everybody should be striving for that comfortable 25, like that 24 to 26, somewhere in there, right? But you're going to have milestones along the way. And if you're not happy at that milestone, by all means, I'm the first one to tell you, vanity is not a bad thing. We need to stop thinking, oh, I shouldn't be vain. I shouldn't have vain goals. Screw that. You want to feel sexy and confident and fit in your body. That is enough of a reason for your journey. You don't have to have a why beyond that. Now, it can be helpful, especially when you're struggling, to have a deeper why, but it's okay to want to look and feel good in your body. That's enough for me.
The reason why I was asking was because if I go, let's say I'm 45%. I don't remember what it is. It's in the 40s somewhere. I'm 45% body fat at 194. That means 10% to get body fat to get down to that 35% goal. That is 19 pounds. But if my goal weight is 184, that's only 10 pounds. So that's why I was asking that question. I was like, the math isn't mathing.
That's where the math does math, because that's where the lean body mass increase makes a difference. This is why we take the lean mass goal and the body fat percentage goal separately, and then we plug them in with that formula. That's what that formula is for, because most people are just determining, that's a perfect example. Most people are determining what their weight goal should be purely based on how much weight they would lose with body fat without considering, wait a minute, where do I want my lean mass to be? So this is where it'll be really fun for you to pull up the formulas and plug in different numbers. If I said I was just going to maintain my lean mass, this is the number it would give me for a body weight goal. If I said I was going to gain lean mass, this is the number it would give me. If I said I was going to lose lean mass, which I don't want any of you striving for, it would give you a much lower body weight number. And that's where most women have gone wrong for so long. Love it. This is why I'm glad you're all here. I think Bronson has something to say. He's standing here anxiously.
I just walked by at the best time because that question and that conversation, you guys don't know how valuable this information is that you're getting right now. The combination of putting these things together and understanding how weight loss, weight goals, body composition, lean mass, all of this stuff ties together, and applying it and how to actually figure it out and should have a goal that makes sense for your health. It's a game changer. So if you have any questions, don't hold back. If you're not 100% sure about where to go after this call or during this call, ask now before she gets off.
And I'll stay on. You guys know.
Well, that's why we have Nat for a coach.
Yeah,
Thank you, Bronson, but that's
exactly.
why we have your hot lady for a coach, you know.
And if anybody's like totally lost and really needs a lot more help on this, holler at me and we can talk about coaching. I'm getting ready to drop all the 2024 coaching packages and the new challenge and the new membership and all that fun stuff. So I know Deb Tasker is ready to go, girl. I'm so ready to have you in one of my groups, man. I've been waiting for the day. All right, Erin, come on up.
Okay, so now you're making me think with this the jiggly skin thing. Could that be what's throwing off the home scale because of that excess tissue? Because it's not in the areas that the Navy body fat scale calculates. It's in like my thighs and stuff mostly. And I'm just wondering if that's coming into play.
It could be, but I would say more likely with the home scales, they're just so sensitive to fluid changes.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not sensitive enough to determine, because they're only based off of algorithms, like estimates from this electrical impedance and sending through your body. So it cannot specifically determine this much of your body is muscle and this much of your body is fat. That's why, like on a DEXA, it's going to give you hard numbers. But in your bioelectrical impedance, it's always going to be a guess. And that's why anything that impacts fluid is going to impact those body composition numbers on your home scale. It's less likely to be a skin issue.
Cool, thank you.
Good thing. Yeah, although the skin is a tissue, right? So organs, bone, water, blood, like everything is incorporated in that number. This is another reason why I just love to talk about desensitizing to the scale number, because there's so much in there. Like it is not so simple, and we need to stop equating that number on the scale with our body fat. Like we're just way too much thinking that means everything about our body fat. There's so much more in that number. So all right, are you guys feeling comfortable moving on to timelines? You ready to talk about how long?
Yes, thank you.
All right. All right, let's see. Let's plug into timelines. All right, so first things first, in your cheat sheet, not the formula sheet, but the other one with all the words, I talk about this there, so you'll have those numbers there to reference. But this is just like where we were setting our goals for our body composition. This is just some general recommendations of rates of realistic, healthy rates of body fat loss and realistic, healthy weight rates of muscle gain. So we're talking about percentages per week or per month. So let me share this screen so you can walk through what I'm saying for those of you who like to read along. Okay, so determining our realistic time frame to achieve our goals. I'm just get past all this intro stuff. All right, rates of fat loss. You've probably heard me share this a lot on other videos, but a generally healthy and sustainable rate of loss, I like to say 1% of your body weight per week, but even that can be aggressive. So anywhere from 0.5% to 1% of your total body weight per week, which, for example, for a 150-pound woman would be anywhere between 3 to 6 pounds per month. That's kind of a realistic, healthy rate of body fat loss. If you are striving for 5 pounds a week, 10 pounds a week, this is what we see, all these things being shared in these discussion boards about these big drops, and then everybody expects these big drops every week. If you're a 300-pound woman, sure, you could expect a loss of maybe 3 pounds a week. But we shouldn't be striving, most of us, for 5 pounds of loss in a week. That is extreme. You're likely, in that case, also going to be losing muscle, and a lot of that is probably water. So if you're going from a high carb to a keto diet, sure, you're going to drop a bunch of water. But actual rates of fat loss is more like 0.5 to 1% of your body weight per week. When it comes to muscle gain, it is much, much slower than that. So for a female beginner, and I just posted on my socials yesterday about my first 4 years of consistent training. And you can see the difference between 2016 and 2018 and how much more jacked I look in 4 years. That's because newbie gains are the best thing in life. And if I could go back to those newbie gains, boy, I wish I could. So that's great news for my beginners, because you have the most potential of how much muscle you can put on your body in a shorter period of time. And that may sound great until you hear the numbers. You can realistically expect to gain 0.5 to 0.75% of your body weight per month. So while you could lose that much in body weight per week of body fat loss, it would take a month to get that much in gain of muscle. Just to put it in perspective here. So for our same 150-pound woman who could maybe lose 3 to 6 pounds of body fat in a month, she could probably only gain maybe a pound of muscle per month. So this is why I always say, if you're currently focused on fat loss and the scale is not going down, you are not getting fat loss, because muscle does not build as fast as fat as you can lose fat. So we do need to be adjusting things if we're not seeing that drop on the scale, because eventually we will see it. And it can take, these things are not linear. So even though we're saying this is a rate, it doesn't mean it's going to happen every week. It may be that you maintain for a couple of weeks and then you get that whoosh that we've all experienced. And then you may maintain again, or it may be going up and down on the scale, because once again, fluid impacts everything. This is why we look at averages. So take these rates as a rate and not an expected linear drop every single week or an expected linear increase every month. But these are kind of like the rules of thumb. And then for my intermediate and advanced ladies, it gets slower and slower as you go with consistent training. So for my intermediate level ladies, these are women who've been training consistently for, let's say, 2 to 3 years, maybe a little bit more than that, 0.25 to 0.375 per month of muscle gain per pound of body weight. And for the advanced lifters out there, I still like to keep myself kind of in that higher intermediate level. I still wouldn't consider myself like a truly advanced, like power lifter, type trainer. But we're talking 0.125 to 0.2 at the most. And really it said like 0.8, 0.187. I rounded up. So that same 150-pound woman, if she's now been training consistently for some years, she may only gain half a pound of muscle per month. And this, getting down here into my important note here, these rates are impacted by a lot of other factors. Your health status being number one. And health status, there's a lot behind that, right? If you have thyroid issues, if you have hormone issues, hello, like I said, no testosterone for the last year. I've gained nothing. So your age, your activity level, your sleep, your stress, your, like I said, hormonal status, medications you're on can impact all of these. So those rates are actually optimal rates, like if everything's optimized. And I'm sorry if that just took all of the hope out of the room. But we got to deal in reality, right? I don't like to give you false hope. So in this cheat sheet, I gave you a couple of links. One is to my masterclass on realistic goal setting and expectations. And the other is to a precision nutrition article where I pulled these numbers from. So you can click on that, and it's written for coaches, but it would be really helpful for anyone to read. It's going to explain all of these numbers. Is going to give you the actual visible charts that you can see them on, and it goes into much more detail. So I share all that so we can get into the formulas of the timelines. But before we do that, let me get to some questions, and then we'll get into the formulas. Mary Grace, go for it.
All right. So first off, I guess, like going all the way back to the beginning, I know we talked about like 23 to 26%. I've gotten, down to like 18, 19% before. I know that's not where I want to live. But what I was using here, I played with both numbers, like 21 and 22%. Do you think that that's sort of reasonable and sustainable for me? Or would you stick with the higher 23?
I'd say 21, 22 is fine. And then once you're sitting there and you've been there for a little bit, you just assess based on your biofeedback. So it's not a bad goal at all. And that ultimately, it's like what I just said, it's all about how we feel at that level. When I was fully carnivore, and this is the other thing, our body fat percentage and our weight on the scale are impacted by things like fluid. I've talked about this a lot. So when you are carnivore versus keto versus low carb versus higher carb, wherever your carbs are, that's going to change the numbers on the scale. That's why I say all this is a little bit arbitrary, because I don't want you freaking out if the numbers don't end up looking like this on your scale. It may simply have to do with how many carbs you ate that day, and it may change things. So that being said, when I was full on carnivore lion diet, I was sitting at 21%. I probably jumped up on my scale after that just from increasing my carbs. So keep that in mind too, that it may fluctuate. So I would say that's fine. And then assess once you're there, if you like being there, if you feel good, and if
you've left the meeting.
And if your blood work is all good, you also want to take into account if it's having any negative impacts on your health status.
So if we use that like 21%, and then I was putting a goal to gain 5 pounds of lean body mass, it's going to take me a minute. But just plugging that in as sort of the goal, basically I'd end up gaining about a pound, is where that would sort of all lay out. Then going down for like the
I vote
timeline.
Christine Lewis has left the meeting.
I'm getting like, I don't know why this is the first time ever, but every time somebody says something in the chat or leaves, I'm getting a
notification. I've never heard that before either. That's funny.
Never happened before, but anyway, so
Juliana to everyone. That's too funny.
I just chose somewhere sort of in the middle. I mean, definitely intermediate. I've been lifting, very consistently for like 3.5, almost 4 years now.
Yeah, I would go on the higher level of intermediate.
So I put 0.3. Is that what?
I'd say that's comfortable. Yeah, I think I put myself at 0.2 for the sake of the example. But you could play around with that too and say, okay, well, if I were to consider myself here or here, and then you can kind of get a range
Okay.
of different rates. And so I encourage everybody to do that when we get to these formulas, play around with different levels. And Maria, I would probably put you in, you might still be able, I think you can get another year of newbie gains. I would give anybody who's only been consistent for like a year, year and a half, even 2 years, you could keep yourself in the beginner newbie gains. Like I showed in that example in on my social media, I got a lot of growth in 4 years, over 4 years. So it didn't really start slowing down until after 4 consistent years.
Yeah, so I'm almost there. I guess that's sort of it. My only other question is, at some point, like during one of my check-ins or something, I had talked about how I definitely was showing that I've been in a cut like this rather than so much recomp during the build or whatever. And it was mentioned, the more advanced, the harder it is sort of to recomp. So setting this timeline and setting these as a goal, is that sort of realistic for something for me to be striving for? Or is it more realistic to focus on one and then move into the other at this point or stage?
Awesome question. Yes. And this is for Erin too. Like any of my ladies you've hit those goals, you're lean. And now it's like, okay, well, what should my next goal be? Yeah, at this stage, once you've gotten pretty lean, it's going to be more beneficial to reach your goals to go into a dedicated build and a dedicated cut. When you still have a lot to lose, you can do a lot with recomp. But once you become an intermediate advanced lifter or you're lean, so one or the other or both, especially both, this is why competitive bodybuilders do the cutting and bulking, because it's going to be more beneficial for reaching the goals, to focus on a goal and optimize for that goal for a period of time and then shift gears to focus on another one.
So like per se, sort of almost even have like 2 of those spreadsheets. I mean, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
and
you can do one for a cutting season and one for a building season. Absolutely.
Get to that 21%, and then after that see what 21 or 22% looks like with 5 pounds of lean mass. Does that make sense?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so you could reassess. You could set it for a time period, use that for your season, and then at the end of that season reassess your current numbers and then replug it in for your next season. That's how I would do it. I would say, okay, like the way that I set these goals, for example, these are I set them for both. And actually, once we get into the timeline, I think it'll be a little more clear. So we can dive into that next. Yeah. Of course, as soon as we finish, Karen walks away and she's the next one.
I'm back.
That's
I'm here.
the way it works,
I just had
right?
to go turn the burner off on the stove.
What's that?
I'm really excited about all these. I totally understand it now.
Yay!
And I've gone through and set short-term goals by dropping my fat percent, so that way and I'm liking the numbers that I see for my weight. One question that I have with it is that at what points do the macros change to support the goals?
Yeah, it sounds like I need to do a follow-up all about the macros, because this is just about the setting the goals, and then the plan for reaching the goal is like a whole different topic.
Next Saturday. No.
Yeah, right. We could totally do one of those before the new year. We can do a part 2. Okay, now you have your goals and you have your timeline. How the heck do you reach it?
Right. Well, I'm a numbers person, so I can't wait to go back and look at my whole build, where my numbers were, and see how they play into this. And because I'm just excited about going from my current almost 39% fat, and I've got it calculated all the way down to 23%. So
oh yes, ma'am, I love it.
So I've got 3% intervals that I did the numbers. So it's like, and adding 10 pounds of muscle. So
oh my gosh, you're gonna be a beast. It's so exciting.
But I was very curious about the macros. So it's like, where does that play into? What stages do you change them?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think I definitely need to do another, I'll do a workshop on it, because I have a multiple masterclasses on all the different seasons. But I think it would be fun to walk through it the way we're doing it with it like this, to give example, like a workshop. So I'll definitely put that on the books. Thanks for inspiring that. We'll go for that. I know Rhonda's ready for that too. Cool. Okay, so let's dive into some timelines using these formulas. Let's go back to the screen share. All right, So here we go with our timelines. So starting with the formulas, I picked as an intermediate advanced lifter, I was being conservative. I used 0.2% as my rate of gain. We're going to take my current body weight and multiply that by my rate of gain. And this would give my monthly gain expectation. How much can I expect to gain in pounds or kgs for the month? So in my example, 125 pounds times 0.002. Now this is really important because when we're talking about tenths of a percent, we've got to add more zeros after that decimal point. So don't make the mistake of thinking 0.2%. You just multiply by 0.2. That would be 20%. So this tells me I can gain 1/4 pound per month. So let's go into the formulas sheet. Oh, is it going to let me do that? I might have to stop the share and go back in. Switch it from here. Okay, let me go back in. There we go. Okay, so let's get to our timeline for muscle gain. All right, so, oh good, I put your little cheat sheet here for beginner's rate, intermediate rate, and advanced rate. And then here's our formulas. So you put your current body weight here, multiply that by your rate of gain as a decimal, and here's your monthly gains. Second part, how many months? We're going to take remember we went back to what is your current lean mass and how many pounds are you looking to gain in lean mass? I was looking to put on 5 pounds of lean mass. So this is the gain that we want. We don't put the total amount. So before I put 100 pounds, now I'm just putting the 5 pounds because that's the difference between where I am and where I'm going. So we put how many pounds we want to gain and multiply that by our monthly gains. And this tells me how many months? 20 months. That means almost 2 years I got to work to get those 5 pounds on. That can be humbling. But what is it doing? It's doing what I always say. Play the long game, ladies. This is about the rest of your life. If we went back to my very first bikini show, I did that prep in 4 months. That's why I didn't look the way I look now. Had I really understood all of this back then, I probably would have trained for 2 years before I ever got on stage, before I ever tried to do the fat loss part of it. Because I'm sure I lost muscle in that prep. And I was like 105 pounds. And that was not what my goal should have been. So it's better for us to be realistic and see how long it's actually going to take to make it happen. And then we can set realistic goals and expectations around the timeline, and we can play the long game and not get frustrated when it's not happening next month. Okay, who wants to plug some numbers in here? Let's go see you guys now. Ooh, Juliana's killing it with the newbie gains. She said, if I use my newbie gains, I have been adding 2 pounds every 60 days. I support these formulas. Yes, that's about 1 pound a month. Beautiful. All right, Blaze, come on up.
Now, realistically, I know I'm a beginner, but if I use the formula for a advance, would that be more realistic when I don't see the gains as fast as I want to?
Yes, okay, so that's a great example. So that part that I talked about, all the factors that impact the rate, in Blaze's case, she's fighting against some medical stuff, right? When you really understand your health status, your age, the things that you're fighting uphill against, I would definitely be more conservative on the rate that you use. Absolutely. Yeah, really good way to do it. Because the other thing that I always talk about, the mental side of it, is we want to feel good about the progress we're making. And when we have unrealistic expectations, just like so many of us, who always thought of our body weight being lower, being better, we end up setting ourselves up for failure because then we get discouraged. So I'm all for being more conservative and then getting some wins along the way and saying, yeah, okay, I'm doing really well here, rather than setting our sights really high and then being discouraged when we don't get there. Beautiful. Thank you. Yep. Like, perfect example, even using the 0.2%, I haven't been able to do that for the last year. I've been at 0%. Right? And that's because I've got some health stuff I'm dealing with on the hormone side. Once I get that optimized, I'm sure I'll see that increase again. But I've got to be more realistic than that right now. Somebody asked when I posted that on social the other day, so have you gotten a lot of gains over the last year? I said, nope, none. I wasn't expecting to. I knew what we were dealing with. Didn't mean I stopped training. This is the important part. Doesn't mean you stop training, because if you stop training, now with the understanding of the realistic expectations, you can say, well, I'm only guaranteed to get any progress if I'm optimized as much as I can for where I'm at and continue to try to optimize. And actually, I think I put that at the bottom of the cheat sheet, where I talked about all of these numbers we talk about and all of these timelines and everything. It's only if we're doing the things. Going off plan, whether diet or training wise, and on and off again, there's no chance of getting these results. And then we wonder why, when we were listening to all these gurus and trying all these different things and changing what we're doing every few weeks, that we weren't making progress and we were nothing but frustrated all the time. This is why bodybuilders get the kind of progress that we get. It's not because they're all 20 years old and in perfect health, because a lot of them are in all different kinds of places. But we look at everything, we dial everything in, and we don't go off plan and change the plan because we're discouraged that we're not getting the results. If we get discouraged about not getting the results, we tighten up even more because we know that there's a reason why we're not getting results, and we need to find out. Cool. All right. I think Mary was next, and then Rhonda.
Okay, so I have figured through since I started in July, in 2 months, I lost 5% body fat. Then from September to now, I've lost 6% body fat. So would it be, so what we figured out, 169 pounds would be my 29% body fat plus 5 pounds of muscle. Would that be reasonable to expect to be at April for that?
Let's see. Let's go over here and use your stuff as an example. Okay, so we are taking your current body weight. What is your current body weight?
180.
180. And we're going to take the beginners. So what rate would you like? 0.5, 0.75, 0.6? What feels good to you?
Go for 0.65, somewhere in the middle.
Okay. So that's 0, 0.
I, like Blaze, am fighting medicals, so.
Yes, right. We want to be conservative. So let's say about a pound, a little over a pound monthly. And then what's your lean body mass goal? How many pounds did you want to put on in muscle?
5, so it would be 120 would be the total, but 5 pounds is what we want to get.
Awesome. Okay, so then we would say about 4 months, a little bit over 4 months, to reach your muscle gain goals. This does not have anything to do with body fat. We're going to do that in a second.
Right.
So about 4 months you can look at for 4.2.
April.
There you go. Yeah. Beautiful.
Right.
Well done. So that was a good estimation there.
I look at ratios and percentages, and I know I'm going to slow down as I get closer to my goal.
Yep.
So the first,
And as you continue to train consistently, right, it's going to slow down for that purpose as well.
Right, because I'm going to be gaining the muscle and losing the fat, so I won't see as much loss on the scale. Then I actually put numbers. If I wanted to join the 100-pound loss club, that would put me at 13%, which I do not think is a realistic number.
Whoa. You know what? Maybe for your stage debut. It could be.
Okay, maybe in 2026. Is that too far out?
And that's for like one day.
Yeah, one day.
Yep. Just
Thank
another
you.
reminder that it's not about that, how many pounds, right? All right. Good one. Thanks, Mary. Rhonda, come on up.
So I'm getting really excited because I just went back to the email that you had written me in November telling me about my percentage. And based on you talking about all of this, and I plugged in 10 pounds of lean body mass, and it was telling me 10 months. I'm like, okay, I can't go from that. Let me go see what I did. That now, told me where I was back in November. And you said from when I started, kind of like August, September. So in 3 months, I gained, you said 18 pounds of, you lost 18 pounds of fat loss and gained 11 pounds of lean mass. So I don't think it's going to take me 10 months to go in and gain, it's playing with the numbers to gain additional lean month. Because if I gain 11 pounds of lean mass in 3 months, then that newbie gain is really.
Yeah. And that's also reflected in like lean mass, remember, is fat-free mass. So we're talking about everything that's not just muscle. The muscle is probably smaller than just that whole 11 pounds. But that was to show that like on Rhonda's, I'm just going to mute you real quick because there's some kind of a feedback going on so everybody can hear this. But in Rhonda's numbers on the scale, it looks like 7 pounds of loss in that 3 months. And she was feeling discouraged because it wasn't showing up on her scale, but her measurements and her photos were showing it. And we were like, it looks like you've done a lot more than that. So that's, I think when we went to the Navy body fat calculator, I calculated some more stuff and I was like, okay, according to this, it makes a lot more sense that you actually lost more body fat and gained more muscle or lean mass. And that's what that reflects, is these much bigger changes that we could tell were happening, but it just wasn't showing up on the damn scale. So yeah, but I would say now you've been really consistent with training. And this the other thing, Rhonda's gotten major strength improvement, major movement improvement, mobility improvements. Like there's been so much with this training that improved upon. And I'm not super surprised, but I would not expect it to continue at such a fast rate. I would definitely be more conservative on the weight for like the next 6 months and that first. Because yeah, you not.
Unless I take creatine, then it might increase a little bit more.
It ain't a wonder drug, but actually, you know what? That's a good example of whenever I talk about most people don't need supplements. This is why you see professional athletes using supplements and using all of these different crazy techniques, because we need every little bit we can get at this point because our natural rate is so low. So once you have been training for a little while and then you decide to add in a creatine or you decide to add in a pre-workout, you start adding things that give you that extra edge when you don't have that edge anymore. It can make the difference of keeping that rate a little bit higher. So yeah, it's not going to be miraculous, but it can help. Good point. All right. Anybody else have questions about muscle gain timeline before we move on to fat loss timeline? Cool. All right. Let's keep it rolling. Let me go to timeline for fat loss. Let's get right into the formulas this time. All right. Okay. So, first things first, we talk about this rate is so much more simple, 0.5 to 1%. I usually go with 1%, but in my case, I'm just going to go with the 0.5 because the leaner you are, I would lean toward the lower rate of body fat loss. The more body fat you have on your body, the more you can lean into that 1%. But for those of us who are already pretty lean, we should look at losing a percentage every week. So with my numbers, I put in my total current body weight times my rate of loss, which is 0.5%, and I can expect to lose about 0.625 pounds per week when I am dialed in for fat loss. I am going to multiply this by 4 to get my approximate, how many weeks per month. And this is going to look like 2.5 pounds per month. So we can match it up with our muscle gain rates per month. So my weekly loss, 0.625 times 4 weeks per month. Sometimes we're going to have 5 weeks per month, but we'll just go with the 4. And then, so I'm expecting maybe 2.5 pounds of loss per month. So we plug into this formula our goal body weight. And remember, mine is the exact same as my current body weight, but if you have a different goal body weight from that formula above, you plug that in here. You multiply it by your goal body fat percentage. What do you want your goal body fat percentage to be? Minus 20%. And we're going to get my goal body fat mass in pounds. So when I hit my body fat percentage goal, I will have 25 pounds of body fat on my body. We are going to take my current body fat mass. Remember way back at the beginning, when we took our current numbers and I asked you to write those down somewhere, you should know what your current body fat mass is in pounds. This is supposed to be a subtraction, not a multiplication. You're going to take your current body fat in pounds, subtract your goal body fat in pounds to get how much fat loss you want. This is kind of an interim formula because on our muscle mass, we already knew how many pounds of muscle we wanted to gain. Body fat specifically, we're not talking about weight right now. We're talking about body fat pounds. We need to figure out how much we have now and how much we're going to have when we get to our body fat percentage goal. So that's why we have to do these interim formulas. So boop, boop, boop. I know I want to lose 5 pounds of body fat. So here's the main formula here. We take our total body fat loss that we want, 5 pounds for me. We divide that by how much we can expect to lose per month, which is right here, our 2.5 pounds per month. 5 pound loss total divided by 2.5 per month tells me that it's going to take me 2 months to reach my goal. So this is where, once again, that cut and bulk versus recomp comes in. If I only wanted to focus on body fat loss, I could reach my body fat loss goals in 2 months, and then I could focus on building. I could focus on that 20 months it was going to take me to put on the muscle that I wanted to put on. Or I can recomp. And if I'm recomping, we just add those 2 timelines together. My gains timeline was 20 months to build muscle. My loss timeline is 2 months to lose the body fat. That means 22 months. If I was going to do this in a recomp the entire time, so I'm not striving to quickly lose that body fat and then put on the muscle. I'm not striving to put on the muscle and then lose the body fat. I'm just trying to do both at the same time. I can roughly expect it to take 22 months to get there. Or, to Mary Grace's question earlier, if we wanted to do a cut and a bulk phase, which at my level of leanness makes more sense for me to do. What I would probably do and what I'm getting ready to do is do a mini cut. It would only take me 8 weeks to quickly get that 5 pounds of body fat off, which is what I'm going to do between January and February. And then I can squarely focus on muscle gain without thinking about fat loss again for 20 months. Unless, of course, I do a show. We'll see how that works. Go ahead, Mary Grace.
Yeah, it was just funny how in line, like your current body fat mass is almost identical. Your fat loss goals, it's very similar. So I could have almost just used your
My
spreadsheet.
number, yeah, she's my body twin, if y'all didn't know. Like, you might have like what, a couple of inches on me.
Yeah, just barely 5'2". And then I guess we talked about this being a future discussion, but like moving into, let's say I did just do a focused sort of to get rid of these last 5, and then you want to move into building just sort of just barely above a maintenance is sort of just in generalization, not talking specific macros, but just slightly above maintenance is where you shoot for.
Yeah, I like a good like 200 to 300 calories above. Unless you want to go really conservative, and then you could do it kind of like a reverse diet, like 100 calories a couple of weeks. Or like if we're really talking recomp and for everybody, and we'll do this on a second workshop, but for recomp, we're talking, you find your thresholds. This is what Erin's working toward right now. Then you hang out there, you train like a beast, you recover hard, and it'll happen naturally over time. As long as you're training with progressive overload, you're recovering well, and you're focused on good quality foods.
Yeah, it's fun when you're not in a rush anymore. You know what I mean?
Oh, it changes the game. Yeah.
Like, yeah, it doesn't seem like there's like an end, so it doesn't really matter, but I'm just curious.
It's not like rushing to the finish line. This is life. Like, this is life. It's about optimizing and improving every
But it's
week.
fun all on like a sheet of paper too. I geek out on that, so thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Erin, what's up?
Hi. So yeah, it is. It's nice to be able to do it slowly. This whole process, I think, has taken me over 10 years so far. But anyway, now it's like, but anyway, I'm sorry if you might have answered this before. I had some distracting stuff going on here. When we're talking about gaining the muscle and how determining the rate, beginners, intermediate, advanced, like how would I pick a percentage rate that would make sense essentially?
So I would, how long have you been consistently, progressively strength training?
Probably since July, maybe.
Okay, so
I've done it in the past, but this is when I picked up the weights again and got serious about it again.
Right, yeah. So for a lot of you, especially if you did at some point, but it's been years, starting over, then I would consider it newbie gains.
Okay.
I would still put you in that beginner, I would say beginner for the first 2 years at least.
Okay.
If you go to that link to the precision nutrition article, which Erin's a precision nutrition student right now. You'll love that article.
I love it.
It'll give you the actual charts of how many years training and that kind of a thing. It even goes into all of the different factors. There's a table you can pull up about the different health factors.
Okay.
I would consider that too. Consider your own health status. And that's how I would choose within those ranges. Let's say you're like, okay, I'm beginner, but I'm struggling with thyroid or whatever it might be. Okay, let me factor that in and go toward the lower end of the range.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have questions about the timelines? This has been super fun. All right, I want to point out one more really important thing here that I alluded to earlier. Share the screen one more time. Oops. Okay. This is what I talked about before. If I were to not be consistent not follow a progressive training plan, not optimize my nutrition and recovery. In other words, yo-yo dieting or starting and stopping training for weeks or months at a time, it would take much, much longer than this. All of these rates are based on optimizing within your circumstances. So if you've ever felt like this is taking too long, or I'm not seeing results fast enough, it may be time to reevaluate your consistency and adherence to the plan, and or to adjust your expectations. That is the summary of all of this, because 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, we are simply getting emotional about what we feel like we've been doing versus what we've actually been doing. I always like to say feel like is a story. Whenever we start to say I feel like I've been working so hard. I feel like I've been depriving myself of this and that, and I'm not getting the results I want, so I might as well quit. That's all emotion talking. We want to find the accuracy. And how do we find the accuracy? We track what we've been doing. We look at the numbers, we look at the data, because that don't lie. Not just our results data, we look at our inputs data. What have I been doing in terms of my nutrition? I'm tracking my nutrition. If I'm tracking absolutely everything, including the cheats, I may feel like I'm doing so well until I see that I've overconsumed more times than I've hit my macros. I've underconsumed protein 5 times the last 3 weeks, every week, right? We can go back to hard data and say, I'm either doing it or I'm not doing it, not based on what I feel like I'm doing and not doing. We can see it right in front of us. This is the reason why you get a coach. This is the reason why you use tracking software and we look at all these things, because our emotions can't lie when we have the numbers in front of us. So all that to say, thank you all so much for showing up. You made this amazing. I'm loving how this workshop turned out, and I will be working on the implementation workshop next. Macros, we can talk about training and all that good stuff. So stay tuned for that. Keep the questions coming in the Facebook group and the build group and Trainer Eyes. And I can't wait to share with you all everything coming for 2024. Juliana, I see those guns over there, girl. I see that you're putting in the work.
Woo!
Yes, man.
Yeehaw!
I love it. I love it. I love all of you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for using your examples and sharing your examples. I think it'll really help everyone watching on the replay. Holler at me. I'm here for you all. And I'm proud of you all. I will see you in the community.
Love you guys. Thank you.
Have a wonderful rest of your weekend.
Good night. Y'all have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye.